Now this little black arm you see out on the right, that is our marker. That tells the farmer when he turns around to make another pass across the field where he last was, and he can line up his planter accordingly. Any questions about that? Okay.
What is that thing right there?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
What is that thing right there?
Right here. That is a header for our harvester or combine. This particular one is a corn header. I'm going to show you a combine here in just a minute. We use a different header on the front of the same combine to harvest different crops. That one is to harvest corn. We have a separate header for soybeans and a separate header for small grain. But the combine itself is the same piece of equipment. The silos to your left are some of our small grain storage. The larger silos hold about 3,500 bushels each. The smaller ones about 2,500 bushels each. We were just talking about a harvester or combine. The big green John Deere you see right up under the shed is our harvester or combine. They call it a combine because it does more than just pick the crop. It does a lot of stuff with it. And we use a different header on the front of that depending on whether we harvest small grain, soybeans, or corn. Now, once it gets into the combine, the grain that we want to keep is picked off of the crop. It is blown with a blast of air to clean it, and it's deposited in a big hopper up on top. All the rest of the foliage and the stalk is chopped up in a very small part and thrown out the bottom. You see the big fan under the bottom there, the spreader? It's thrown out back on the field where it composts and adds nutrients to the soil, but there's no need for fertilizer. The big tall unit here is our sprayer. Remember we talked about spraying Roundup on our corn and soybeans to kill the weeds? You know, the tires are very narrow, so it'll fit between the rows because, you know, there's a crop growing there. We don't want to damage any more than we have to. Those brooms spread out twice to a distance of 110 feet. So each pass across the field, we'll spray 110 feet. And it reduces the number of passes we have to make across the field. We'll use that to spray liquid nitrogen, or sometimes if we're having a wet growing season, we'll might have some mold, and we'll use a fungicide to stop that. Remember, I told you that we are a continuous no-till farming operation. That means all of our crops are grown by the no-till method. You know, as early as the mid-1960s, there were farmers who were no-tilling corn and soybeans. But no farmer anywhere had ever no-tilled small grains until Stanley Hewlett Jr. began that practice on this farm in 1987. Now, Virginia Tech had tried to develop that technique, and they said it can't be done. We've tried and failed. It took Stanley about 3 years to get his technique perfected, get his equipment calibrated so it worked properly. And with that, we never turned back. We've been no-tilling since '87. That practice has spread to many thousands of acres in the United States and even other countries. But it was done first here, started by Stanley Hewlett. And of course, Virginia Tech now recommends that practice. Up on the hill to your right, the green building is our seed production facility. In addition to growing crops for sale, we also produce and sell certified seed. We are licensed by the major manufacturers to do that. What started as a sideline to reduce our costs for planting our crops has turned into a big portion of our business.
That's so awesome.
This year we will sell seed from as far north as New York State to the tip of Florida and as far west as Texas. We'll sell somewhere between 350 and 400,000 bags of seed to the south and west during that period. For those of you who may not be from this area, this is the James River.
Whose house is that? That's theirs.
It is the first river, of course. in the New World. Captain John Smith and Pocahontas sailed these very waters about 400 years ago. Over to across the river is the Surrey County. And back behind it, you see the beach community of Claremont. All those buildings on the beach are brand new. Remember when Isabel came through here in September of 2003, it washed away all of those buildings, and they've all had to replace them. The high tide completely covered the intakes for irrigation pumps over here. Stanley told me it was the highest tide ever recorded on the James River since they've been keeping records. That was September 18th.
Hold on for just a second, please.
Sure.
You dropped your hat.
Oh, man. That's important.
There you go. Got that, man.
Okay.
Oh, he dropped his
Any questions?
No.
Okay. All right. Moving right along.
Oh, the exhaustion part is up there. That's why we're
The James is still used for commerce as it was back in the old days. Used for recreation also. Good hunting, fishing. It's a good, clean river. And we do our best to keep it that way through farming technology. Concrete pad to your right is a truck scale. Most of our customers do business with us by truck. We're bringing a tractor trailer empty and we'll weigh them right here. Inside that shed is a balance beam scale, similar to the one in the doctor's office, but quite a bit larger, of course. We'll weigh the truck empty and pull him over here to one of our grain downspouts to fill him up. When we come back, we'll weigh him again to make sure he gets his money's worth. When he leaves here, that truck will weigh about 74,000 pounds. Now, this big silo on the end is our largest one on the farm. It'll hold about 55,000 bushels of corn or soybeans or small grains. About 60 pounds per bushel. That means it's well over 3,300,000 pounds sitting on that concrete slab. So when we built this silo, we poured that concrete of 18 inches thick to support all that weight. Now the noise you hear is the grain dryer in operation, drying some corn that they had picked earlier today. We cannot pick the grain and just put it in storage. We have to dry it down so it's very good dry before we can store it. Otherwise it'll mold. So that's powered by propane and big fans and blows the grain through there and dries it out, and then we can store it in one of these silos. Now people ask me, how do you get the grain from the silo to the truck? See, look at this silo here that has the red pipe coming out of the bottom. You look up at the top of that pipe, you'll see an electric motor, and it's hooked by a belt to a big pulley. That pulley is hooked to a long auger or screw that goes down through the middle of that pipe. And that auger turns and draws the grain up to the top, and then it falls out of that downspout into the top of one of our grain trucks or one of the customer's grain trucks that's built like the one you see on the left here. Once we get it full, it takes about 20, 25 minutes to fill it up. We'll put the canvas cover on top and he can drive away. Now the big red building right in front of us here used to be a barn. And it was sitting over the end of that green building you saw a few minutes ago. Well, we had to move that. We're going to increase our capacity on our seed plant. So we brought it over here and made a office out of it. And we have two computers in there. One is hooked to the Chicago Board of Trade, so we keep an eye on the commodities prices. And then our other unit is, of course, the Weather Channel. We stay on the Weather Channel 24 hours a day. That's two thing a commodities farmer needs is pricing information and what the weather's going to do tomorrow, or even this afternoon.